So I've been trying to decide on what to paint for my first miniature painting video. You know, I have a few options to choose from. Something from Ravage Star, which, yeah, I could, but I ain't ready for this yet. I still don't think I'm ready for it with not having painted anything else. So this, I think, is a bad starting point. Then I decided on, let's paint some of my backlog that I have for Warhammer. I thought about doing the Octarius box right away. Painting up the orcs and Krieg in here, or one of the sides. But I kind of want to save that. I want to save that for a bit of a later date. So we're not doing that. So that's one box eliminated. 2 factions eliminated. Then I thought, you know, maybe we'll do Space Wolves? Or Wolfguard Terminators? Nah. I want to figure out my own style with those. I don't want to go like box art-ish. So I want to take a little more time for them. Then I remembered I have the Command Edition from 9th edition with Necrons and Space Marines. And I don't really care about Necrons. You know, there's always armies you like, you think are interesting, but you don't really want to play. You don't plan to buy like that much of it, but it's in a pack, so I'm like, I might as well. That's kind of how I feel about Necrons. I think they're an interesting army with some interesting mechanics, but I don't really want to make and paint an army of them. Right now, at least. So I think they're going to be good starter models. It's only a few paints to use, only a few things I think to paint. So I think it'll be a good starter. And since that has been decided, let's go look for some inspiration. To Instagram.
So I opened up Instagram and searched for Necrons and just started scrolling. I saw a lot of green and I'm like, nah, a lot of people do green for Necrons because it is the lore accurate stuff. I'm like, nah, I don't want to do that. I want to do something different. I want to do a different color. I wanted to keep it to one set of colors, and I found these guys as inspiration, and I thought they looked really cool. So I decided I'm going to do a paint scheme like that. Just, you know, a red-based paint scheme for my Necrons. Now let's start putting together these Necron Warriors. Before I get into clipping the models from sprues and painting all of the models, I think we need to establish the story of this army. On a planet long forgotten to the Imperium of Man, a presence stirs. The low hum of a plasma generator resonates throughout the planet, from deep within its very core. The creak and tick of metal that has not moved in ages can be heard from deep within. A disturbance moves the crimson soil of the planet. The soil undulates and rises, creating what looks to be a small hill. From the hill bursts a mechanical, skeletal form laden with armor. Its armor dyed as red as the soil around it. It clicks and pops into place. Next to the skeletal form, another hill arises, and another of these skeletal monstrosities bursts forth. Then another, and another. As far as any optical viewer could see, these horrible, mechanical abominations rise from the soil. Large swaths of their bodies dyed with the same red as the soil they rose from. So this is probably the dumbest way to go about putting all these guys together, but I decided I'm going to clip everything off of the sprues just right away, first thing I do, and then I'm going to put them in their own little piles, even though, you know, there's a lot of interchangeable parts there for the most part. That's why they're kind of going in their own little piles, and I'm just going to start putting them together. So let's do a clipping and assembly montage. Here we go! So I primed my warriors in Citadel's Chaos Black, and I did a Zenithal highlight using Gray Seer. This is probably just my inexperience with miniature painting, but in the end, I just felt like there was no real benefit from the Zenithal highlight. I'm probably wrong, and there probably is a benefit, but I don't understand how the Zenithal highlight is beneficial. So how about, while I'm doing my own research on why it's beneficial, how to actually do it, and like what's the best thing to do to make it more beneficial, how about you guys let me know in the comments how wrong I am that Zenithal highlight is really beneficial for this reason. Just let me know how wrong I am and why. Don't just tell me I'm an idiot for thinking like this, because I already know that I'm an idiot. But leave some constructive criticism down there. Leave something constructive down there with good, solid reasoning. That's all I ask. Also, if you made it this far, how about hitting that like button? It does really help out the channel, and I really appreciate it. I also appreciate you subscribing if you like my content that I've put up so far. Now, let's get into the painting step. The paints that I plan on using are from Duncan Rhodes' Too Thin Coats line. Spoiler, I don't actually do too thin coats when painting these. Probably should have. Maybe that would have highlighted the Zenithal stuff a little more, and I could have understood it. For the metal parts of the models, I'm using Surcote Silver, which is the mid-tone of the metal colors. I really like this for the exposed parts of the inner skeleton of the Necron. The skull, spine, arms, hands, the crest on the front of the chest, and the raised areas on the gun. If I was being smart, which we already know sometimes that ain't a possible thing for me, I would have batch painted all the metal first and then moved on to the other parts, but I didn't, because I did each model individually till it was finished-ish. Finished to like, I would say 80, maybe 90% standard, but I also changed some stuff up while I was working on them. For the first model, I took some Berserker Red, which is the shadow of the red line in Too Thin Coats, and I painted all the areas that will be red on the models. Shoulder guards, the chest area minus the crest in front, the back and side sections, and all of the armor on the legs, hands, arms, and feet. Then I went back over the shoulder guards and the armor on the appendages, and also the inner part of the coil and recess sections of the gun with Sanguine Scarlet, which is the mid-tone for that red line. I probably shouldn't have gone over everything with it, and probably, actually used it as like a mid-tone and kind of tried transitioning stuff, but I just went over everything. Then for highlighting, I used Demon Red. You can kind of see the trend here. It's the highlight color of the red line in Too Thin Coats, just to hit areas that I thought would make sense for having a highlight. Mostly it was areas that would be facing the sky, maybe the gun a little bit, but mostly the sky. So things like the shoulder guards, edges of the leg armor, tops of the feet, etc. I also used it on the plasma coil area of the gun for just a bit of a pop of color, trying to slightly dry brush it, but not really dry brush it, because I also don't 100% understand dry brushing. But yeah. Then I also did put a little bit of it within the recessed spheres along the gun for the same pop of color, like it is like there's plasma going through the gun. And then to finish up kind of the highlighting stuff, I went to the chest area and I tried to get some of that Demon Red into the front vents on the armor and kind of like around the edge of it. And sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, because I kind of went a little messy with it sometimes. Once I did complete that model, I kind of changed how I was doing things a little bit. Most of the process stayed the same, but I went from using the Berserker Red everywhere as a shadow or as a shade to just using it on the front of the chest and where it wraps around the sides to the back, just to give those areas a bit of like a deeper and darker color, and to give the kind of the shoulders and like the vents in front a bit more of a pop. And I used Sanguine Scarlet as my base color after that for all the other armor, along with using the Demon Red highlight everywhere that I said I was. So I thought about doing some other things with these models, like doing a wash over all of them, either from the Duncan Rhodes set or making my own. I also thought about magnetizing them which would have been a huge pain in the ass, so I decided to ixnay that idea. And I considered improving their bases a bit, like, you know, actually making them decent looking bases, but I didn't come up with the story until I was writing this script. So I didn't want to go overboard with them, hate it, and then have to redo all of it. So I just kept it conservative and I just painted the models. But now that I have that idea of a story for these Necrons, I can make the rest of them and paint them up, which will be another video. It'll probably be the next miniature painting video that I do. But remember, we have all those other ideas that are going on also. So that might take a little while. But yeah, that's going to be all for this video. And now it's just time for those sexy, sexy reveal shots. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a royal day. Also, don't forget to hit that like button and maybe subscribe if you want to continue on this journey with me, or if you just like the video I made.